So it's hard to put into a short statement or a few words the impact that Martin Delaney has had. And I look at his impact as a long-time clinician in San Francisco and someone who's worked in the drug development industry as well. And Martin's reach was enormous, from patient education to doctor education to ensuring as best as possible adequate care for HIV-infected patients under adverse insurance climates, and his work with the regulatory agencies, the FDA and the EMEA, as well as setting research agendas and research design at the level of the NIH. Those works have had immeasurable impact, and Martin will be deeply and dearly missed.
It's really great to have the opportunity to say a few words about a giant in the field of HIV activism, Marty Delaney. Marty's untimely passing a couple of weeks ago hit us all very hard. Marty was one of those people that you could always count on behind the scenes, in front of the camera, to lead the field in a scientifically appropriate, evidence-based way to really tackle the big questions in HIV research. The biggest part of Marty's legacy will be expanded access programs and the ability of individuals who didn't qualify for clinical trials to have access to these very important study agents, particularly very early in the epidemic, so that they would receive these life-saving drugs. Once we had heart therapy, Marty continued in the field to expand his activities to go beyond additional antiretrovirals, but continue to work on questions of pricing, continue to work on questions of fairness, work on questions of how to expand the availability of these very important life-saving drugs. At the same time, we can't lose sight of the fact that Project Inform, under Marty's leadership, really helped focus the world on the importance of immune reconstitution and the immune system as the target of HIV. While it is a viral infection, the target is the CD4 cell. Marty never lost sight of that fact and really pushed hard on trying to find ways to fully constitute the human immune system. The last couple of years, Marty and I have worked very closely on trying to develop new strategies where we could eradicate HIV from the human body, working toward the cure. This will be Marty's legacy that I will carry forward through my research and through the programs I established at NIH.
I think it's virtually impossible to put into words the impact that Marty Delaney has had on the field of HIV research, the area that I'm involved in. He was a major champion for exploring new approaches to therapy, and in particular immune-based therapies. I can remember a variety of meetings that Marty had organized to try to bring together people from a variety of different backgrounds to talk about the pathogenesis of HIV infection and looking at novel ways in which one might be able to reverse that pathogenesis. He was a great hero to many of us. He knew how to engage people to get the best out of them. He wasn't afraid of controversy, but always approached it in a way that was constructive. And indeed, he's someone who will be greatly missed by all of us.
I began my work in AIDS in San Francisco in 1982 and worked there until 1988 before I moved to Baltimore. So very early on I was exposed to the influence of Marty Delaney and interacted with him quite a bit at AIDS clinical trials group meetings and other research meetings. And I would say that what Martin did was he completely changed the paradigm for disease control and for combating an epidemic by involving the community and by making the community and the people living with HIV and the people affected by people living with HIV a full partner in the scientific and public health process. That was a totally new paradigm and certainly something that didn't happen easily. There was a lot of friction, there was a lot of resentment on the part of many more senior scientists that they knew what they were doing. They were the experts. They didn't need these pesky patients and advocates coming in and disrupting the scientific process. But what Martin Delaney and many others who worked alongside him showed was that involving the patients and the community in the scientific process actually moved it forward much more rapidly, and we became partners. I remember a particular meeting where there was a lot of tension and a discussion was going on about some of the issues related to a study we were doing that the community had. And I said, well, let me be the devil's advocate, Martin. And he said, well, that's a very good thing for a former Jesuit priest. And I realized that I was the devil's advocate, arguing to the devil's advocate. And that relieved a lot of tension in the meeting. And we really were able to productively work together. So I think at this point in the epidemic, it's just accepted that the community is a full partner in the scientific, public health, and clinical response to it. We couldn't do it without the community, but in the early days it was pretty tough sledding, and it was people like Martin Delaney, real visionary giants who fought a very hard battle uphill against some pretty tough opponents who didn't think this was necessary or productive. But ultimately showed through his example and his incredible contributions that it was very, very much worthwhile.
The world of HIV and HIV research and HIV advocacy lost a giant in Marty Delaney. There was no one that helped all of us understand the science and why we do the science better than Marty. And his legacy is one that is about empowering communities and about empowering all of us to be better scientists, to be better advocates, and to be better people. And he will be sorely missed.
I think what was special about Martin Delaney was, first of all, his knowledge. He was very knowledgeable. He thought deep about the issues in HIV, and also in a way the civil manner in which he was an advocate. He was you could always speak to him. He would listen to arguments, and it was really a pleasure actually to have been interacting with Martin, and he made a big contribution to the field.
Martin Delaney passed away a few weeks before this conference. He was really a unique personality. Among the special things about HIV AIDS has been the contribution of the community, and the obstacles for this to happen were numerous. There was mistrust on both sides, and Martin Delaney had a unique personality in that he was able to overcome those obstacles. First of all, he knew such an enormous amount, and I think that the scientists who were in contact with him really appreciated that. They had a partner with whom they could speak in their own language if necessary, and who could translate what they said to other publics. And then there was the activist side, and what was peculiar about Martin, I think, was his style, which was a non-threatening but persistent advocacy that I think may have done more than some of the more strident approaches and made everybody comfortable. So it's a huge loss, and we are all indebted to him and his memory.